So this morning, now we're going to see through the eyes of Oxfam, having the country director, Dr. Vincent Ahosi, join us virtually now to tell us some of the expectations and conversations going on at Oxfam about the expectations from the incoming administration that will be led by Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Ahosi. Good morning. You might have to unmute, Dr. Ahosi, because I cannot hear you, even though we did test that earlier. So please do unmute. But I'll go ahead to ask that.
Good morning.
Okay, great.
Nice to have you.
Good to have you. Good to have you. So a lot of people have said, oh, we expect the new administration to hit the ground running, whatever that means to different people. I guess we'll find out what it means to Oxfam this morning. But we expect the swearing in to happen on the 29th of May for Oxfam. After that, 30th, 1st of June, what should happen? What should we be looking at? What should we expect?
Thank you so much, Ini. For Oxfam, I think the president-elect should actually start working now, not wait until May 29. When I say start working now, I mean he has to start the planning and the thinking and trying to see how to figure out the problems and the issues with Nigeria. We need to put things in perspective. The Nigerian case now has become so very, very concerning. Concerning in the first instance is that more than ever before, Nigeria now needs a government that will be able to reduce poverty in action and in deed. Now we have 133 million Nigerians that are living in poverty, multidimensional poverty. 25 million Nigerians are at the risk of facing hunger between June and August this year. Nigeria has over 20 million children out of school as of today. That is more than the population of Senegal and Gambia put together. For every 10 Nigerians, 6 out of these don't have access to quality primary health care. Nigeria is saddled with debt, and the Debt Management Office has told us that the incoming government is likely to inherit as much as 97 trillion naira in debt. That's about 172 billion US dollars. Just last year in 2022, Nigeria debt service to revenue ratio was 80.6. That is beyond, far beyond the 22.5% recommended by the World Bank for low-income countries. We can go on and start talking about the problems Nigeria has. And if you can remember, in January, the central bank raised interest rate to 18% because the consumer price index, they said they need to rein it in. But the consumer price index as of end of March is 22.04. That is a lot. And if we look at the budget we are currently implementing in Nigeria, the 2023 appropriation budget, as presented by Mr. President, we have a revenue projection of just 9.7 trillion naira. And yet, we intend to spend as much as 20.5 trillion naira, leaving a deficit of about 10.5 trillion naira. This is unprecedented. This is a figure that we have never seen in Nigeria before. That is an increase of about 46.6% over what it was in the last year. Nigeria intends to service its debt for this year with as much as 6.3 trillion naira. That rose from 3.7 trillion naira in 2022 to 6.3 trillion in 2023. So you can see that beyond the celebration, beyond the ceremonies of swearing in, I think the incoming government has its work cut out for it already. Nigeria has one of the widest wealth inequality in the world. Nigeria only contributes 2.4% of the world population. But when you look at death through pregnancy, Nigeria contributes 10% of death through pregnancy to the world. That is unprecedented. We have Nigeria contributing the second highest number of stunted children in the world at the national average of 32%. So now the government has got to pull up the sleeves. This is the time to work for Nigeria and Nigerians. This is not the time for celebration. And what Oxfam is saying is that the incoming government should look for how they are going to, one, eliminate hunger, reduce inequality, and reduce poverty. And is asking the incoming government to be a government that will be for the majority, 99% at the bottom of the pyramid,
All
not
right.
the top 1%.
Okay,
And
Dr. Hansi.
what are we recommending? Yes,
Okay,
please.
Dr. Hansi, just before you go to what you're recommending, I mean, you touched on a whole lot of fronts. You talked about food security, out of school children, issue of debt and its servicing, mortality rate, and of course the fiscal policy. But I mean, as Senator Tinubu had indicated, even before he won the election, I mean, remember the Chatham House scenario where he was asked questions and he did delegate it. So obviously he needs a cabinet because he's not going to do this work alone. Obviously, he cannot be the one thinking of security and then health and go back to oil and gas and all of that. So we did see a delay in the appointment of cabinet members and ministers by this current administration led by President Muhammadu Buhari. How important is it that the incoming administration, when we say hit the ground running, that having a cabinet being part of that?
Thank you. I do not envy the incoming president because, like I said, he has his work cut out for him. And one of the problems we seem to be having in Nigeria is that the size of government is too large. It's way too large, not only at the national level, but even at the sub-national level. You have now a government where we have 8.2 trillion naira as our projected recurrent expenditure for this year. And out of that, 4.99 trillion is going to personnel cost alone. So it has to work with less people. We need to reduce the number of people that is hired by the government. Now it has to have the wisdom to be able to hire not those who will look the president in the face and tell him what he wants to hear, but those who will have the confidence and have the will and have the capacity to look the president in the face and tell him what he needs to know, what he needs to do to pull Nigeria out of this seeming overriding poverty. That is the kind of men and women the president needs, or the incoming president needs. He needs men and women who know how to think beyond, outside the box. Not people who will come and remind you of your religion or remind you of which political party you belong to. Because poverty does not disaggregate people into Christian, Muslim, one political party or the other. We need men and women that will be able to think, men and women that will be able to work with the development partners to see how do we reduce poverty, because it is unthinkable. Nigerians are hungry, Nigerians are sick, Nigerians are tired. And these men and women should be men and women that are not motivated by wealth, or motivated by wages, or motivated by pecuniary things that they stand to benefit from government. This should be people that are willing to serve. And the development partners are out there, they are ready to help Nigeria. We just need to put on the right thinking cap. Why can't we just for once advertise these positions online, advertise them in the newspapers? Yes, the law says you have to have a minister from each state. That is what the law says. But the law did not say you cannot advertise the skills, the experience, the expertise that is needed to fill these positions. Go ahead and advertise them. Fill them in with men and women from these states. If you want a health minister from Edo State, advertise health minister from Edo State and get the best that will be able to reduce maternal mortality. And you give him or her the targets with a monitoring matrix that by time B, we want to reduce infant mortality from A to B. And you are out there monitoring him or her and provide the enabling environment, provide what he or she needs to do it. That is the kind of cabinet that Mr. Sheikh Tinubu needs. So this is not the time, this is not going to be business as usual, because if we continue as business as usual, we will continue to go around the circle, the people will continue to be worse off for it, and the country will not move. So what are we saying? We need to reduce wastages. We need to increase revenue. We need to fight corruption. We need to provide the enabling environment for small and medium enterprises to thrive. The government is not the highest employer of labor. The figures are out there. The highest employer of labor today in Nigeria is the small and medium enterprises. They hire as much as, they provide employment for as much as 93% or thereabouts. I mean, they provide about 96% businesses, and they hire as much as 84% of Nigerians. Not even the big corporations, not even government. So why should government be spending 4.99 trillion naira to pay civil servants? That is not the right way to go. That is not the right trajectory. It doesn't look too good. The fiscal condition doesn't look too good for Nigeria. We need men and women that will be able to do things and do it differently. That is what the incoming government should be looking at. And of course, if we have to narrow it down to details of things, one, we need to de-incentivize political appointments. Gone are the days where that should be that Nigerians, why are so many Nigerians willing to go to government to go and get rich, to go and get money that they are not even qualified for? That is not right. That means something is wrong somewhere. We have to stop borrowing to finance our current expenditure. We have to stop consuming what we don't have. We have to reduce our dependency on imported goods and services. And of course, we have to progressively and purposely, we have to fight corruption. This is what Oxfam is asking the government to do.
Yeah.
In terms of generating more funds, we need to provide the enabling environment, like I said, for the small and medium enterprises to thrive. We have to support the manufacturing industries. We have to support that sector. And of course, when it comes to agriculture, if just last year, 2022, Nigeria only released 1.8% of its total budget to agriculture. You can't expect a miracle from that. If the government can at least release them, budgeting is one thing, release is another thing. If the government can budget and release as much as 10% of its budget annually to agriculture, then we are on the way to it.
All right, Dr. Hansi. I mean, knowing all of these things, I don't think they're new. Well, we have to provide food, and we have to make the environment conducive for businesses to thrive, support manufacturers. I don't think any of them is new, and I don't think anybody would say anything differently. But I guess what would be different, which we would like to hear from Oxfam, is what new strategy? For instance, if we want to talk about food security, we all know that if there's insecurity, then farmers will not go to the farm. But if the farmer is assured of security and is given tractors and other equipment, he has fertilizer, then he will certainly go to the farm, and he has the infrastructure, you know, to get the goods out of the farm to where the market is. Then we would have dealt with food security. So what can we do differently? What can this incoming administration do differently to ensure that these things, I mean, talking of a conducive environment for ease of doing business, what can we do differently? What should he be looking at doing differently?
I think one thing we could do differently is for us to have the political will. What we have seen in time past is there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of, grandstanding, pardon my English. And there's a lot of talk on, in the open place, in the public domain. But we have not seen this matched with political will. We have said that we all know that insecurity is a big problem in Nigeria. So we have to have the political will to call a spade a spade. It is not just, appropriating funds to fight insecurity. It's to make sure that Nigerians are held accountable. How many people have been arrested for doing what they are not supposed to be doing? We have to ensure the rule of law. Everything starts from the rule of law. We appropriate this money. How are they spent? That is another thing. People are corrupt. Some people say Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. There's nothing like Nigerian factor. The Nigerian factor simply means that we are building individuals and not institutions. It is high time we start building institutions that will last longer than any one of us. If you are found to have done something wrong, there should be accountability. Impunity should not be the case. No man or no woman should be above the law. It's as simple as that. And the moment we are able to set the law as the ultimate one that everyone will have to uphold and respect, every other thing falls in place. Of course, the political will to be able to appropriate what you need to appropriate. We do not want a situation whereby we continue to dance this through to the same tune and expect things to change. That cannot be. We know the solutions, but we now need the political will. You're talking about agriculture. We are not talking about fossil fuel here. We're talking about climate smart agriculture. That is the new thing. We are talking of healthcare. In healthcare, we are talking about universal, basic, and qualitative healthcare. We are talking about education. We are talking about mandatory, compulsory, qualitative, primary and secondary education. That is what we're talking about. It's different. So these things are different. The development partners are available. Oxfam is willing to do all this to help, but the government has to be willing, has the political will to step down from the high horse and listen to the experts, not listen to the space singers, not listen to the sycophants, not listen to the Nigerian politicians. That is the difference. I tell you one thing. There was the richest man in Africa was commenting. Aliko Dangote was commenting about a week ago about a particular government in Northwest, where the governor seems to have done better. They were reviewing the case of Northwest, economy, fiscal space, human development, and everything. And I remember that this same state government was the same state governor. The governor got elected. Even as a governor-elect, he had not been sworn in. And I was at the then DFID office, and I saw him turn up because he wanted the experts. These development partners are available. They want to help you. They want to show you how to do it. You only need to make your government open and transparent, right, and accountable, and they will be there to help you. They can embed people within your government that will help you. So it is not going to be business as usual if this government wants to do the right thing. Think of men and women that know how to do it. And you must be able to hold your appointees accountable. It's one thing to appoint people, it's another thing to leave them to do whatever they want. You have to have the vigor to develop monitoring metrics for them, develop targets from them, and monitor them. And let there be peer learning and peer review. And when people are wrong, let them be held. There should be, we have to develop learning system. We have to develop accountability system. That is the difference. That is what is lacking in Nigeria. And that is what Oxfam is calling on.
All right. Thank you so much, Country Director of Oxfam, Dr. Vincent Ahonsi, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. We do hope, if not the president-elect, then somebody who is close to him is listening and will share this message with him. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.